And I'll dive in and get going, and then we'll kind of go from there. Well, college football is crazy, just all the stuff that's going on, and it's interesting right now. I think we all kind of feel like we're building the plane while we're flying it. Um, because it is changing literally every day, and we don't have a lot of guidance when it comes to what things are going to look like in 6 months or a year from now, or whatever the case may be. In terms of just legislation and some things that I think are easy ways to help the game. So there's just a lot going on. I mean, there's obviously been a change of leadership in the NCAA, and I do think that there's an appetite there to do everything that they can do as an organization to try to fix some of the issues in college football. So the thing that we try to do around here, honestly, is obviously you keep your eyes on the changes and what's happening, but you really kind of focus on the 6 inches in front of you and the things that you can control, and try not to get caught up in all the uncertainty and all the other things that exist right now around college football. So the best thing about it is, we get to spend a lot of time with our players now in June, which is new. Just getting a chance to be around the players, I think, makes it fun to come to work every day. I love this team. I love where we are right now as a team and as a program. And so, as I said, that makes me excited to come to work every day. I do think in a lot of ways I'm having probably as much fun or more fun coaching right now than I ever have. I just think that, I feel like the players are finally getting what they deserve in terms of revenue and to be taken care of. For years and years and years, college sports was the only entity in the world really that didn't pay the talent. And so, no one's going to ball games to watch me do anything. They're there to watch the players play. And so finally, I think that we have come to our senses, and we have revenue sharing now. And my hope is that there's going to be teeth when it comes to doing this the right way. And that we don't get back to the days of college football where guys were doing things that where they weren't supposed to be doing. Programs are doing things they weren't supposed to be doing. And my hope is that will fix, the changes will fix that, and we'll have a game that we can all be proud of, and that we can be proud of our profession in coaching and following the rules and doing things that are going to be the best for the game of college football and ultimately the players and the fans, because they're the ones that deserve a good product. So it's an interesting time of the year. As I said, we're in the middle of recruiting, which is new in June. Have a lot of official visits, and I've had some. Excited about the recruiting class we're putting together. I think over the next 2 or 3 weeks it'll play out. And I think we're really excited about the way we see it playing out, and really like the class that we have so far, and encouraged that we're going to get the guys that we're supposed to get. So that's kind of the state of the union right now for TCU.
Nothing matters at all.
Yep.
But would you say that when you talk to your fellow coaches, are you in the minority?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think so. I think, look, I think as college coaches right now, we probably have less control maybe than we've had in the past. And I think a lot of guys have a hard time dealing with that. Doesn't really bother me that much.
The wellness center is about to come online.
Yep. Yeah, big deal. I mean, obviously we're in the weight room. The weight room is made a significant difference in how we can train our players, what we can do, the fact that we can get our entire team in there when we need to now. I think it's already taken a really strong part of our program and made it even stronger. So excited about that. The Restoration Center is going to be cutting edge things. We say it all the time in recruiting, and really as coaches, we are a developmental program. In other words, we go recruit players, we bring them in here, we develop them with a plan that starts really day one with supplementation, nutrition, rest, recovery, all the things to make them better athletes. We try to coach them up to make them better players. We try to provide the best tutoring and everything that we can to make them better students, and then we try to provide a great example on how to be a good person, and that's our goal as a program, is to develop, young men as students and people and football players, and so that's kind of fits to the model of that. This restoration center does. It's going to be a facility that's unlike really, I think, any in the country in terms of the modalities are going to be available to our players, and that's very intentional. We believe in taking care of these guys. And I think a big part of it is going to be taking care of them physically, helping them recover, helping them feel better. And there's a mental element that's very, very important and part of that as well. And so anyway, we feel like it's going to make a difference in our program, and that's why we built it. Yep. Well, I think it's just get better. I think that's the biggest thing, kind of like we talked about, just what I just spoke on, is this the idea of every day, let's get a little bit better. We're just so much further along right now than we used to be. A big part of that has to do with the majority of our freshman players and signees and transfers and everybody are here in January now. And so, this time of year now in June, they've been here for 6 months. And so physically they're different. They're much more settled. They're much more confident. They know what to do, how to do it. And you can see those guys just getting better every day. And it's fun to watch. I mean, you bring these guys in and, they add 20 pounds of muscle and they lose some fat and they learn how to play football even better than they were taught before. And it's fun to watch. And it's fun to watch them start to gain confidence and go, you know what, I belong here at this institution. I belong playing football at this level. And there's a performance enhancement that takes place when those guys get that confidence, and you can start to see it. And then we've also got about 10 newcomers that got here a couple of weeks ago, and it's fun to watch those guys get better every single day. So it's such a different time. Back in the old days, August, these guys would show up and you spent half your practices trying to get them into shape. And, right now these players are in the best shape they're ever going to be in. And so now, here we have this really, really fancy car that's really tuned up and ready to go, and we just got to make sure we don't wreck it, really between now and September 1st. And so, that's the biggest thing is let's let these guys continue to get better, and let's do enough football and enough things, and then let's give them enough break to recover physically and mentally, and everybody get refreshed, and then let's rev that car back up again and make sure it's performing its best come September 1st. That's really the goal.
Coach, we've seen a lot of it with the transfer portal kids in the portal leaving in masses. You guys, I think, only had, 3 or 4 hit the portal in spring?
Yep.
What's that say about really your coaching staff and really about the kids that are here?
Well, it says to me, it really starts with Fort Worth. It starts with people enjoy living in this community. I think it carries over to TCU, and guys love going to school here. Our school has one of the happiest student bodies in the country. You've heard about that. We have one of the biggest freshman retention rates in the country. So people love Fort Worth. People love TCU. They want to be here. They're comfortable here. I think it says in our program that guys feel like they're being developed and getting better, and they feel like they're being taken care of. And that's the goal is, for these players to come here and be the best version of themselves that they can be, however long they're here. And I don't think they would stick around if they didn't feel that. And so, I think they're excited too, because I think they all feel like that we have a chance to have a good football team. And, they want to experience that and be a part of it. So, I think it says a lot about a lot of different things within the program and within the community and within the university for sure.
Coach, one of the big fears that I hear amongst fans of teams in the ACC and the Big 12 is that their players may be coached by schools in Big 10 and the ACC.
Yeah.
For a variety of reasons, you've been confronted with that. Do you think that fear is valid?
Well, I mean, it's the same thing. Look, if we're all supposed to be working with a salary cap now, basically, with revenue sharing. So, it's supposed to be more like the NFL model where, the Dallas Cowboys don't go say, well, Josh Allen had a good year this year. Let's just go give Josh Allen twice as much as the Bills are giving him. You know what I mean? That's kind of the way college football's worked, and that's really not the way things work in the world. I mean, people have contracts, except in college football, and people have things that they can't break. And so anyway, I think if we can starts there, where if institutions will use the amount of money that they have in revenue share and that money only, and not try to get around the the intent or the break the rules. I think that's the issue in college football right now is we all say, okay, we want revenue sharing. We get revenue sharing, and then everybody sitting at the table goes, okay, how can we figure out a way to screw everybody else where we get more revenue sharing? And so it's just like, I'm going to screw you before you screw me type of thing. And I hate to be blunt, but that's kind of what this is right now. And that doesn't happen in the NFL. Those teams understand how it works, and there's a value in coaching, there's a value in drafting, there's a value in player development, and they don't just get to go say, well, you know what, we're just going to spend twice as much money and buy twice as many players. That's just not how it works in the NFL. Now, it's the way it works in some other sports to a degree, but not really in the NFL. And so, my hope is that everybody's going to get evaluated on how well do they recruit, how well do they develop, how well do they scheme, how well do their players play, as opposed to just saying, you know what, we've done a really poor job of evaluating and developing players, so guess what we're going to do? We're going to come buy yours. And so that's the goal. Hopefully that'll change.
What's the accountability for the players? Like the Red Sox just made a huge trade. They said it's because it didn't live up to the
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like anything else. I mean, I think you've got to, those are the value judgments that you make on a day-to-day basis. How talented is somebody, and how much rope does that give them? You know what I mean? And I think everybody's got to make decisions based on that. I mean, some kind of, some pro teams could care less what a guy's, arrest record looks like. And others, it matters greatly. And it's the same thing in college athletics. I mean, I think you got to decide what are the kind of people that you want to be around, and is it worth it? Is the juice worth the squeeze? And if it is to you, and then squeeze away. And if it's not, then you got to find a way to move on. And I think, I think that's the way college football is, and I think all of you guys as business people are the same way. You may have this really, really talented guy that's a salesman, but nobody enjoys being around him, and he probably has a negative impact on other people, and so you got to decide, is it worth it? And in college football is no different.
Mentioned in your opening statement about teeth and having teeth in this new era. When you think about the fusion side of things, how important are those teeth, and how important is it for them to be timeless for the next 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, you're just now seeing the Michigan thing come down, and that's really none of my business. I don't know anything about that. But that was a long time ago, and the person that was responsible for that, or most of that, isn't there anymore. And so, do you punish the people that are there? Do you punish the young people that had nothing to do with it? I mean, that's the problem that you run into. And so it's a complicated thing. It's not an easy fix. But you have to do something. You know what I mean? And I think that's the issue right now. Is I think if you polled college coaches right now, nothing's really being done, and nothing's been done for a long time that we're aware of. And we're always told, hey, there's stuff going on behind the scenes, but nobody sees it. And so you don't want the adage to be, look, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And you just don't want to operate in that kind of a world. You know what I mean? And I just don't think that's, again, we're coaches, we're supposed to be mentoring young people. And is that the message that we want to send to those young people? If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying? I don't think that's what we're supposed to do. I think we have a higher calling in that, at least I believe that.
From
Yeah, I think kind of what we said earlier. I mean, there is a lot of uncertainty and there's a lot of stuff, and you just gotta say, okay, look, just tell me the rules, and we'll figure out a way to operate within the framework of the rules, and that's what we want to do. And I think that's the goal of our program is to, to make our student body and our fans and our alumni and our stakeholders proud of what we put on the field. And I do think there's more to that than just winning and losing. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, I know we're in the ultimate "what have you done for me lately" business, and we get to take a test every Saturday that everybody gets to see, and that's what makes football so awesome and so unique is that, you get immediate feedback on what kind of job you're doing. You don't have to wait till the end of the year for your meeting with with your boss, every Saturday. And that's cool, but it's, it's haphazard in some ways. But, I think that for us, like I said earlier, to me, you just want to kind of focus on the 6 inches in front of your face, and you want to focus on putting the players in the best situation that you can put them in to go out there and play at the best level that they can play at and be successful. And then you let the other stuff take care of itself.
Coach, do you have any thoughts on these different models that are being discussed for the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, again, same.
The best one for conferences not named?
Well, so how absurd would this be? Okay, how absurd would this be to say, okay, in the NFL, the NFC West had better TV ratings than the AFC Central. So the AFC Central only gets one team in the playoffs, and the NFC West gets 3 teams in the playoff. Are you kidding me? That's supposed to be for the good of the game? That's the most ridiculous, asinine thing in that anybody could ever propose. So that's my feelings.
Which one,
And I know that's a gray area.
like, which one do you, because it seems to me that the problem is a lot of you have 2 companies that have a lot of power.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, look, everybody's looking out for their own self-interests. And again, until we have somebody that's looking out for the self-interest of college football, we're going to have a problem. And, I mean, that's, there's a commissioner in the NFL that looks out for the NFL. And, and if somebody proposed, can you imagine somebody at the winter meeting saying, hey, guess what? Let's propose the deal where the NFC West gets 3 teams in. How well would that go? And so our issue right now is there's nobody to go, come on, dude, really? You know what I mean? And so that's kind of where we're at.
You talked about taking a test every Saturday. If TCU had stuff on the field this Saturday, taking those tests, how do you think they'd be?
Well, I mean, it's early, thankfully. I mean, we're certainly not ready to go play North Carolina. We got a lot of work to do, but I mean, look, we like our team. I love the work ethic of the team. I love the makeup of the team. It's a deep team. But we haven't done anything. I mean, we've had a good couple of weeks in June, and I felt like we had a good spring, and we'll see. We got a lot of work to do, but before we have to play, thankfully. I mean, we're certainly not ready. But I think we're a lot further along than we've ever been. Just with the way the guys have trained and the buy-in and what we're doing now with our players and how we're doing it. I think we're constantly trying to build a better mousetrap, and I feel like we're getting there.
You talked about the depth of this team, Coach. Is there a particular position group that you feel really, really good about could be one of the best in the Big 12? And on the flip side, is there a position group where you're looking at, man, we got to really got to
Well, I think we have we got a lot to prove at wide receiver. We lost 2 guys to the NFL draft that were really productive. Now, I like our guys, but we got to go out and prove it. Got to do the same thing up front defensively. I think we got to get better. I think everybody knows that was a weakness of ours last year was inability to stop the run. And same thing up front as an offense. We got to be able to run the football better. So those are the areas I think that we all know that have to improve. That's been an emphasis on that really from day one as we got back, from the bowl game. Okay, what do we got to do to take the next step as a program? And it's those things. And so when you have to make improvements there, then and the big thing too for us is be more consistent. We can't turn the ball over 12 times in 3 games like we did last year. in a 3-game span. You know, if we have championship aspirations, you can't play haphazard like that. And you know, we did that at times, and you know, and again, we coached that way. Otherwise, we wouldn't have played that way, and so we got to be better.
Any last question for Coach? Okay.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all.
Hey, Josh, I don't know if you heard this or not, but you were apparently contacted by Tennessee in the offseason to potentially transfer there. I read that anyways. What made you decide to decline that opportunity and stick it out here?
I love Fort Worth. I love TCU. This is the place I want to be. I see TCU as a top program, and that's why I came here. Came here to win a Big 12 championship, and you know, I told my teammates I was going to be the quarterback here this year. And the way I grew up, you know, your word means something, and so that's all there was to it. I love TCU. I love Fort Worth, and never thought about it.
Was that a hard decision at all? Didn't sound like it.
Nope, not really. I love TCU. Like I said, this is where I want to be. I love Fort Worth. Family's close. Love the people here. Love playing. Love my teammates, coaches, and I want to go win a Big 12 championship.
You've had some pretty good wide receivers, and we heard coaches talking about that core having to grow up a little bit. What have you seen so far?
Yeah, there's a lot of upside in that room right now. I think I've told a couple people this, but I mean, we've got a chance to have a really, really good room, and I've had some good receivers to play with here, and these guys are really good. We brought Jordan Dwyer in. Just talking about transfer guys, he's been unbelievable this spring. He's got tremendous feel. Joseph Manjack, same way, great feel. We've got some young guys who are impressive. Dozy, obviously we know Eric. Ed Small, Jordan Bailey, Major Everhart. We've got 10 guys that can go play. And so as a quarterback, when you have 10 receivers that can go make an impact, it's encouraging. And I think we understand, our coaching staff understands kind of the guys that I like to play with, the guys that I like to be around, and kind of what targets we're looking for. And, I love receivers with a lot of feel. I mean, guys like Jack Best, J.P. Richardson, Savion, guys you can throw open, and not just guys that are big and can win in isolation, but guys that I can throw open and trust to have feel and bend routes and just get open. So I think as a staff, they did a great job bringing the right guys in, and we had immediate success with those guys, and I'm looking forward to it.
In addition to the wide receivers, there seems to be a lot of talent in the tight end program. How important is it to get that group going?
Yeah, that's something that I'm looking forward to, is just getting the tight end more involved. We've got some really, really talented guys in there. Obviously, Chase Curtis is coming back. I expect a lot from him and DJ Rogers. DJ's really talented, can really run, and so those two guys are obviously the older guys in the room. Then we've got some young guys who are talented as well. So, like I said, I'm really looking forward to getting those guys more involved this year. I feel like we can do a better job of getting them the football, and then obviously using them in the run game and play action. It's going to be huge.
He's mentioned quite a few guys that are veterans, but also a lot of guys that are new to the program this January. How important are these June workouts to kind of getting that relationship and that coaching in this guy?
Well, it's huge. You get to continue to develop guys and get them in a constructed setting, I guess, to give them opportunities to keep getting better. I mean, it's not easy to come into college and learn an offense in the spring and then take 2 months off and then just expect to know it again. You kind of have to continue to put it in their brain, and that goes for me too. It's always a good refresher to get in there and go through these installs again and just continue to try and deepen my knowledge in our offense. And so I think it's really big, especially for the young guys, and just me getting trust with those guys. It's hard to, in order to go out there and play well, you got to trust guys. You got to trust the guys at receiver that they're going to win when they're supposed to. They're going to run the right route when they're supposed to. They're going to do this versus certain coverages. And so I think this period gives us a chance to kind of keep taking steps in that direction. And I'm really proud of the progress we've made, obviously at receiver, but just totally on offense. It's been really big this spring and summer.
When you look at that offensive line, young guys moving Fury over to center, how much do you think that helps y'all's offensive line?
Helps a lot. I was roommates with Colton for 3 years. We lived together, and so I'm really close with him in a lot of ways. But he's a great guy, great leader. Really can play offensive line, can play center, and I'm really excited about him getting the opportunity to play center. He's been at guard, obviously with James last year playing center, but I think Colton's ready, and I'm excited to watch him, and definitely thankful to have him up there. He knows what he's doing. He's smart. He can ID stuff. Can just really pick people apart, so I'm excited to watch him do his thing. Yeah, I think the center is always going to be in that position to be the leader. He's the guy that's making calls and kind of has that elevation, I guess, in his role. And so I think that's going to be big, and I think we'll have a chance to be that leader, and should be.
Josh, two things. How close are you to graduating?
I graduated in May.
You've already, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah.
Couple more hours. The other thing is, how much different is this, this time a year ago, there was hope that you could be a good player and develop, and obviously you had a good season. Does it feel different in the expectations for you to even be better than you were, I guess, in October, November?
Yeah, I definitely feel big. I mean, not expectations from, outside, but just internally. I feel like I want to get better. There's so many things that we did last year that I feel like I can do better and be a better leader, a better quarterback, and just help us as a team, as a program, reach the things we want to go to. And so that's definitely a big expectation for me, is just to play better and continue to develop. And I couldn't be more excited about our group and about this upcoming season. And I'm really looking forward to it and think it's going to be a great year. I mean, I really do. We've had some really good teams, and I've seen some really good teams, and I mean, we got some guys.
I would say we're a lot farther along than we were last year. Obviously, a new DC, installing the defense. Now we're kind of building off of it. We got some people, including myself, veterans that are familiar with it, so we can start going into nuances of just changing fronts, changing looks, and the fundamentals are sound. So once you build the fundamentals into the defense, you can really switch it around, windows and mirrors, but everybody knows what they fundamentally have to do.
What was your priority in the offseason? Is there one thing that you want to get better at?
Yes, sir. I feel like I could make a jump and just consistency of pad level and things like that. Personally, just hand leverage, and then also just strength. Coach Cos and them do an amazing job of developing people. So really becoming just twitchier, explosive, knowing that could help me both in the run game and be effective as a pass rusher. So I would say definitely that was my goals developing was.
Defense in general, how big is it for you guys to have Andy and Bud coming back for another year?
I mean, it's amazing, especially me and Bud joked. We both didn't really – he didn't realize that I had another year. I didn't realize Bud had another year. So I remember we were both in the academic center, talking about classes. I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, what are you doing here? So it was funny, and it was amazing. Obviously, Bud's my guy, and same with Namdi. Namdi getting another year. It's awesome just because, one, you've played, so you have chemistry. You kind of build up some of those battle scars with each other. That's a lot of defense is about trust. I trust him to do his job so I can go and do mine to the fullest. So it's amazing. Obviously, they're elite players, but they're good guys, and, I'll run through a wall for them.
I asked Josh a similar question, but how important is this community time together, especially for the defense, now that you guys have about 13, 14 months of the defense under your belt?
I would say in June, football is definitely important. OTAs, like I said, building fundamentals and, just getting people familiar. That way it's not all new in fall camp. But I think this period specifically is more about just character and chemistry building. You can see a lot in how a guy works out and how they're going to play. At least that's how I feel in terms of if he's finishing the workouts, doing his job, he starts behind the line, he finishes through the line. That gives you a lot of confidence in just the person they are, and also just when you go through stuff with people, you build bonds, and it's just second nature when it comes in a game. And things may look iffy from the outside, but you can have trust that he's fighting just as hard as you. So I think it's a very important period, especially with new guys and everything, but even just a team in general, just building that connection, bond, and then we're doing some fun stuff, frog games and things like that to have fun with a team. So it's been pretty cool, and looking forward to the season.
Did you and Marcus get to play a lot in high school together?
Kind of. We played. He went up for playoff game his freshman year. His whole sophomore year we did, so that was pretty awesome. We'd only got to play once before, and that was back when Marcus was playing running back and stuff. So it was a long time ago. But I think we were 5. He was 5. I was 7. But it's been awesome, and just having the ability to do it at this level. Like I said, I only got a year with him in high school, and we wish we would have done some more with it. So I'm definitely looking forward to achieving our goals this year with him.
Are you saying there's maybe some opportunity for all Savion package for Marcus?
I don't know. He'll tell you. Go look up his YouTube highlights on the little ball. He used to be toting. He was fast, but I don't know. That's a hard sell to Coach Barrows.
With all this talk about college football and learning and revenue sharing and
I do. I like to be in the know, especially when it's stuff that involves me or just my teammates. Like to be able to answer questions and things like that. A lot of times, guys will ask me stuff, and I don't want to be just so far out of it that I don't know how to answer them or at least point them in the right direction. And like you said, it changes kind of the game. Not really, but it's important to know. I feel like it's our job. Like I don't see football as a job. I love football, but it's definitely there's more responsibilities and honestly blessings that come with NIL. So like knowing how it's gonna go, both for me personally, financially, and things like that, but also just knowing so I can help the young guys and stuff who, I mean, it's new to everybody, but they're still trying to get adjusted to college. So the NIL and everything, they might not understand as well.
Anything else, Devin?
Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.